Hello, everybody. Al Berg here with the Doggy Style Podcast. Come on in. Today is Friday, June 15th. It's about 7:55 a.m. I'm in Penn Station, so I'm probably having that nice, deep, booming voice. Hope everybody's well. And we got a lot to talk about today. So right now I'm talking in a normal voice, and you'll hear me breathing heavy because I'm going to walk up and I'll count the stairs to myself. So 31 steps. And I'm about to head out onto 8th Avenue and 34th Street. So the sign says. Uh, it is a nice day in New York. The weather's really nice. And today I started trying to do a music podcast. Ooh, it's actually a little chilly. I started trying to do a music podcast where I would just play random songs on my iPod and give out some commentary, but my devices didn't have the right wires, so that'll have to come another day. Wait. There's a ad with Jennifer Aniston. So, nice cool day. Hopefully the sweat won't come pouring down. It is funny how the day starts out, and this has happened in the past where I would be pretty cold on the start of my walk, and by the time I was into it, I'd be really warm. I'd have to either take off jackets or roll up my sleeves. So they've recently put in, I don't know recently, but they've put in a bike lane on a lot of streets in New York. So it's really helpful for bike riders, not so helpful for pedestrians. Yeah, so I'm still behind my goal, and I've had a weight loss goal for a while, and it's been tough, I must say. Yesterday, I walked for an hour in the morning doing a podcast, then I walked for an hour in the evening doing another podcast, and at lunchtime I went down and juggled. So the plan is today to walk in the morning, juggle at lunch, and then juggle in the evening. I didn't have a plan of doing another big walk. So I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about today. Let's see if I have anything on my list. It was kind of weird. I don't know. I think I haven't been talking for a while. It looks like I paused it and didn't restart it, but it's okay. I probably wasn't saying anything important. So I did use some randomness to see what I was going to talk about today. See what it is. So the first thing that came up was problem solving. So I've started writing a book on problem solving, and it's pretty bad. I I'm not a great, okay, dog had a muscle. I'm not a great writer, but I looked at some writing I did, and it's just, something about it is wrong. I don't know even how to describe it. I don't know if I used too many words, so I was just editing the one chapter in the book. And one thing I can see very easily is when I read or try to read from something, it just doesn't come out right. So I either need to take a class or pay somebody or work with somebody to improve my writing style. Now one of the things I did was prepare for today was I brought my juggling outfit, which is just shorts, socks, t-shirt and my sneakers, so that way I can juggle comfortably. I don't know how hot it's going to be today, but it just, wearing have work clothes and it can just get really hot and uncomfortable. Yeah, it's funny how sometimes I want the city noises like just now, and I do hear it. I think my phone is different. The microphone might be set up some way to not pick up distant sounds. I don't know how it would do that, but I know when I've talked through my phone's microphone, you can hear the birds outside, which is nice. And the other times there's a lot of traffic noise. So this podcast, and this is something I don't realize, or I should think more about, is that I can edit these podcasts, which I really don't want to do. And the reason for that is just a lot of extra work. It's much simpler to just record it and upload it. But it is a beautiful day. I have a nice view of the Freedom Tower. And I just remembered to move the earpiece away from my ear as I cut off a car. Yeah, so yesterday I spoke a little bit yesterday's podcast on what went wrong at work, and I was thinking of going straight to work and skipping the podcast, but maybe I'm better off not. And I've also been thinking of how best to use this time. Is it best to just chat about stuff? It's kind of been a little boring reading through my book. I would like to use this time as productively as possible. So that would mean I could I could do a lot of things. I could just listen to music. I could read. I could practice not saying but we'll see. It is nice. I've been tempted to go somewhere different though. So last night I did walk down 10th Avenue, and it was interesting. There's something to be said about it. It had a nice feeling to it of feng shui or I don't know how to pronounce that word. It's funny, a messy fruit stand looks third worldish. That's one thing that I haven't eaten much of, is fruit. And I do need to work on my diet. As I'm now crossing 23rd Street. Yeah, so in terms of weight, I was down to 169 today. And I guess it's boring hearing about somebody else's weight. And one funny thing is when I tell my wife about my weight or how I'm doing, she gets really upset and thinks I'm somehow criticizing her. And it's like the furthest thing from the truth. I'm concerned about my own weight, not really about her weight. I mean, I guess I'm a little concerned about her weight. But whenever I do say it, it's my own goals or ideas. So I'm still, if you measure your weight by something called the BMI, I think it's called BMI, something index, basal metabolic index. It just gives you kind of formula, gives you a number, it's your height, and it's some formula of ratio of your height to your weight. And if you have a BMI of 28 or less, you're considered normal weight. At some point, you become underweight. So above 28, which I am right now, I think I have to weigh 168 to be right at the border of 25 BMI. So I'm really trying. It's one thing if you want to lose weight, you have to really try. I mean, a lot of cases it's not easy. I mean, I haven't had any hard things like any willpower issues where any willpower issues where I've been getting better at that. So I was at, well, I guess that's not totally true because the other last weekend I was at a friend's house and wound up eating pizza. Now on this diet I'm on, it's called the XL diet. You are allowed to eat pizza, but only when you're ahead of your goal. So the goal is to lose a pound a week, and then that goal is converted into a daily goal of losing a seventh of a pound is 7 days in a week. So if you lose a seventh every day, seventh plus a seventh plus a seventh is one pound, and 1 pound is equal to 3,500 calories, and if you divide that by 7, you get 500 a day. So the focus has to be on burning off 500 more calories per day, or eating less, or you could do a combination 250 250. So this came from a book called Total Fitness, and I added something to it, which I wonder if I could have gotten patented, or maybe still can. You know, the problem with patents, it's so expensive. It would be nice if somehow you could describe your idea to a computer, and the computer would then decide. So this way, it would be free, or I don't know if free is the right price. As I'm running, the lights here on the side of the street I'm on are bad because they have these turning lanes. So I am walking against traffic, though. Yeah, so I really pushed it yesterday. I mean, and my weight in the first weigh-in I was 170.2, and the second one I was 169. The second time was 169, and I think I've been trying to just put my low, and sometimes I put my average in. Just felt more psychologically important to put the low in. So I am trying to break through this 169. And one way to do that is to just eat less carbohydrates. I had a big salad yesterday, so. And this whole thing of losing weight, it's very important to realize that when you lose weight, if you're doing this method I use, is that any day you might be up, you might be down, but what's more important is your trend. So. And your body doesn't go straight down. I mean, sometimes you eat and you don't poop, or sometimes you make a big poop, so you lose weight and you ate a lot. So it does vary. But again, you don't want to worry about what your current weight is. You want to worry about what your trend is. And that's the one thing I have to add to the XL diet has a trend line that shows you your trend. And you want to get that trend line equal to the weight loss trend. Now, even if you don't, say you can't lose 1 pound a week, but you keep pushing for it, then you will lose weight. Now, again, losing weight always seems to me it's not that hard, because if you think of it as a temporary thing where you suspend eating, you exercise more. But the reality of it is the weight loss is not that hard, but the keeping it off part is much harder. And I have come up with a method to keep it off. It's really fairly simple. See, the one thing that causes most diets to fail is that people don't, they change what they're doing. So if I'm doing something right now, so I weigh myself every day. I enter it to Excel, or I enter it actually on an online system. I moderate what I do. I haven't been doing the talking about it that much, which is part of the MEAT, M-E-A-T acronym: measure, enter to Excel, adjust for A, and T, talk, tweet. So I haven't been talking enough about it. And the whole talking is in theory to get you to say it publicly to force you more to lose the weight. Now, the problem happens is you reach your goal, and then it's now what? Do you go right back to what you were doing? If you do, you'll gain the weight right back. if you keep doing what I've suggested, now there's a little additional thing is, so say I want to stay below 165, and I know that in one day I could gain 2 pounds, or say even 3 pounds. So even though my goal is 165, my real goal, say I can gain 3 pounds in one day, my real goal is 162, or even less, 162, 161.8. So if I get to 161.8 and I eat whatever I want, I can in theory gain 3 pounds, which will put me at 164.8. So I still be below my 165 goal. So that's the key, is that nothing should change. You should keep doing the same thing. The only thing we're doing now is figuring out what that biggest gain is, and making sure that you set that as your goal, not just. It's interesting. I do see a lot of dogs that look like my dog. You notice the ears back is a kind of, I don't know if it's a good sign or a sign. So I'm on 8th Avenue and 14th Street. Do you need help? Are you looking for something? You good? Take care. Some people with a map that I just asked that went into the subway. So we're on 14th Street. If you walk from 14th Street to the High Line, you'll see I'm pretty sure a Space Invaders. Now, Space Invaders is a street artist who started putting up pictures, I guess, of Space Invaders, and all over the city he'll put up these kind of small murals that look like a Space Invader character. And there's one that I'm passing right now of a white Space Invaders, green eyes with a red apple, a green stem, and a little bite out of it. And it's on a building. It's probably worth money. And it's just tiles. I mean, it would be easy to replicate his pattern, because it's just tiles that he puts down. So okay, so yeah, so that's it about the weight. My own problem is I don't eat a good diet, I think. And so I've been eating a lot of these high protein bars and they have this fake sugar in it that I don't like. So I have to look for, or if anybody knows about, please put a comment of what they are. And by the way, and if you do like this, my podcast, please do like it, subscribe to it. Leave me a comment. I really appreciate that. It makes me feel really good that, I do this because hopefully to get some feedback, hear how good I am, how bad, probably more likely how bad I am. So if you want to just say anything, please let me have it. Okay, so I'm going to go for the book. But I will talk a little bit about problem solving. Now, problem solving is one of those skills that there is a method to it, but I don't know how well you could learn it by just reading a book and practicing it. And it's different. And I say a lot of problems are like when you lose your keys. Where did I put my keys? The method you use to find your keys is very enlightening into your problem-solving skills. And recently there was a episode on Billions where one of the hedge fund people, it's not sure if it's a male or a female. Her name is Taylor, and she gives a test where people have to put together a box. And the really funny thing is, I always thought about the same thing. They're giving somebody a test that I'd give them one of these boxes and see if they could follow the instructions and put it together. Now, I don't know if if it applies on the job, but, and it may be somebody has these boxes, so they've done this already 100 times, so I don't know, is it a really good test? I'm not sure. Or it could be something like a nail puzzle, but I mean, there was a time I would think it's impossible, so I don't know, is that a good technique? I do love the nail puzzle. I don't know if you know what a nail puzzle is. It's basically two nails that are twisted around each other, and it seems like they're impossible to take apart. Yet, you can take them apart pretty easily. They take them apart pretty easily. Okay, so I'm going to be on the High Line in a few seconds, and it is a beautiful, I must say, it's a beautiful day. I'm walking at a pretty leisurely pace. And one of the things I do want to do some more is I want to learn more about meditation, which I haven't spent enough time. Car just cut me off and then got stuck in front of me. I was tempted to just bang his car. Anyway, so yeah, so meditation seems very interesting. I don't know why I don't. I guess it's just not part of my habits. I think my biggest problem is probably that I just have a lack of real good focus. Like even this podcast is probably, not giving me money. I mean, I do need to have this. There was a series of questions to ask before I do things. So the first question is, what skill, and I think this was from Scott Adams, what skill will I get from doing this? And I've been a little reluctant to do the What Can Excel Do course. But it seems like there's a lot of stuff I can get out of that. And I think the focus has to be as I'm walking up the stairs to the High Line. You'll hear it in my breath. What can I do? Excel, it just seems a little boring or hard. I'm not sure. Or overwhelming, or what do I do? Too many things. But I do think I'll get a lot. I'll get a lot in terms of creating the classes, and part of even talking right now has to do with that. Okay, so problem solving book came up. I'm going to go through it. And I'm not going to read it because I don't like the way I wrote it. I almost feel like if I just talk about the subject and then transcribe that, that might actually be a much better way of writing. So let me try that. I'm going to try that. So that could be a way that I'll take the whole. So instead of writing text, write the categories and then order the categories and then just fill them in with my thoughts. As we're 23 minutes into the podcast right now. Okay, so let's try that. So I talked a little bit about accept the problem. And so what I'm going to do going forward, I can't do this right now since I'm walking, is I'm going to list or organize these chapters into things to talk about, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then I'll just go through each one of them and talk about what I can. So in terms of the problem solving book, you can actually find this. I've started it, it's available. I do have a really cool thing that I've started that helps me write books, create them online. And for all the things I do, this is probably the one thing that I should, again the word should, spend time on and make it easier for people to create books. If you go to the website psh2.com, so that's PS, problem solving how to, is what it's short for. So it's 4 characters, psh2.com, and on there you'll see the book. And so I'll just go over what chapters I have. And one of the whole things about writing these books is based on a principle of finish, then add details. And that means try to get the book finished, and then if you get a new chapter, add that afterwards. And I've been a little negligent on that. Um, but I'm kind of seeing that this whole idea of talking about what I want to talk about might be better than writing it, because writing just, I'm not a good writer. I think if I just talk about something, it would be better. So let me go back to the table of contents. Thank you for the permission to do that. Okay. So it's called, right now it says 13 problem solving how-tos. And there's no cover yet or introduction, but it's broken into 4 sections. It says chapters, probably should call them sections. So the first one is problem solving mindset. And this is something I don't have yet. I need some way for the section to have a page on its own. So something I gotta add to my to-do list. And okay, so problem solving mindset. And number 1 is accept the problem. And I'll talk about all of these things. Number 2 is needle in a haystack. Number 3 is I can't. And then chapter 2 or section 2 is solutions. Number 4 is Google it. Number 5 is reboot. Number 6 is binary search. Number 7 is gut feeling. Number 8, string problem. I'm not even sure what that is. It is funny how I could write this stuff and have no idea. I'm not sure. Chapter 3 are number problems. I don't know how many I'm going to get of those, but the whole point is I just write about problems, and I have a whole number of them. And the only one I have here is units problems. And then chapter 4, section 4, which I should call it, miscellaneous problems, license issue, number 10, number 11, downloading proxy script, number 12, ASP, error 500, number 13, go viral. So that's what I had basically. And I was just putting together a book on problem solving. It seems like it is a really important skill. And I would like to give a class on problem solving, so keep an eye out for it. I will set up a mailing list. If you're interested, you could subscribe to the problem solving. And so and now I'm going to bring up, so that's what I put in the book. And now I also have a backlog that has many, many more chapters, hopefully. Really haven't worked on it in a while, so it's the first time I'm looking at it. So one thing I do while I'm walking, I always see people taking pictures, and I don't know if it's just rude or New Yorkish, but I will not stop for somebody taking a picture. Sometimes I do. It depends on my mood. Okay. I don't know if I should brag about that. Okay, so I'm looking for it and I can't seem to find it. I know there's a picture of a bug. Here it is. Okay, there it is. Backlog. Okay, so I have 528 items on here. Oh, cool. I haven't looked at this in a long time. Let me, I don't know if I could easily shuffle it. That's one thing that the code doesn't have, is that you can shuffle things, and all I have to do is add the word shuffle. So hard to do this. I'm trying not to press the X button. There's I just pressed it. Oh well. List also has like a Ah, shit. Impossible to do this. Okay, interesting. If you say something's impossible to do, it is. So what I just did, I turned my phone from portrait to landscape. If you don't know what that means, you should look that up. Matter of fact, if you don't know what something means, somebody says something, write it down and look it up. So that's actually a problem in that you may hear a lot of things, a lot of terms that you just don't know what people are talking about. The easiest thing to do is to just look it up. So okay, so I actually can do this. So if I have a tag on a URL, if you put top ampersand top equal n being the number, you get just that many items. So I'm going to type in shuffle equals wherever the equal sign is. Shuffle equal y. And so now I have a shuffled problem solving list. That got too small to read. Nope, did not shuffle it. Huh. Try that again. Oh, okay. I had a, between the word shuffle and the ampersand, I put an extra space. Try again. Now this list, so the way the lists work is I have a private list that's on the internet, and you cannot see it, but it's set up so that my security can. It's too small to read now. Okay. So I'll go through these, talk about them. I swear, if I didn't have to work, I would get so much more done. Now, would I make money from it? That I don't know. Hopefully, I could apply the key principles for success and be successful at it. So that's a principle, interesting principle for success: how to manage time between work and side projects. Now, a lot of the side projects I do for fun, I really would like to get more people to give me feedback. So I'm not sure how to do that. That's something that, as a side project, I have to figure out how to get more publicity. It's actually a little windy today, but it feels good. Okay, so the first one is offering problems, not solutions. So you've probably heard this one. Hopefully the wind is not really bad. It's pretty windy right now, and I do have a wind cover on my microphone, which I didn't have previously when I first started podcasting. So a lot of times I'll find a problem and say to and this is I think a mistake. It's kind of a bad habit I have, where I'll say, oh, there's a problem, this doesn't work, or this is bad, but I won't have a solution. So it's something as a habit, I would like to create. And it would be nice if while I was doing this, it could go automatically into my habit list. Is the habit I'd like to create is to never talk about problems, but always talk about problems and solutions. So when I re-listen to this, I have to keep that in mind. Am I talking about problems and not talking about solutions? Now, you don't always have solutions, and hopefully the methods in this problem-solving book can help. Maybe the title should be something about solutions. Unfortunately, some of my titles come from finding short domain names like the PSH2. Like I somehow, for some reason, like short domain names. If you have a book title or want a short domain name, let me know. For a fee, I will get you one. I actually have a bunch of them myself right now. One of the coolest ones I've seen is, pretty sure Jordan Peterson has j.ps. Wait, j.sp? j.sp, I think. So J is his first name, S is his middle initial, and P is for Peterson, something like that. Okay, so just create a habit out of that. Don't just offer problems, offer solutions. So if I wanted to Uh, so if I wanted um, to come up with solutions, I need more methods for. My current method for solutions is I have a problem. I break down and find out what's causing it, and then the solution is to fix the cause. So solutions, there's a big thing about not if you fix the cause, you fix one thing, then somebody I know, I'm going to say his name was Jim, don't remember his last name, I worked with, nice guy. I wish I could remember his name, I would look him up on LinkedIn. So this guy Jim said, oh, not only do you have to fix the problem you found, you have to fix every occurrence of it. So say I was using a coding technique that caused issues. I got to find every place I've used this coding technique because it could be in everything I've done. So it's a real problem. And then on the other hand, you also need to solve the root cause. So why did this problem happen? What methods was I using that allowed this to happen? And this is part of Tony Robbins' CANI, continuous and never-ending improvement. So if you do have problems are really opportunities. I know it's other people have said that, but if you do have a problem and you fix it, you still got to fix all the occurrences that might have happened, and you have to fix the root cause of it. Otherwise, it's going to happen again. Something to keep in mind. Again, more habits to have to learn. But once you get these habits, once you train yourself to do these habits, then you won't have an issue with it again in theory. Now, this problem list, anytime I had a problem, I haven't done this recently, I would add it to this list. And again, a habit that I've stopped doing. The next one is task stopping. Not sure what that is, but I can surmise that I run tasks or a program and it stops for a reason. And that could be a problem. I know when I'm automating and I want something to just continuously run and run jobs, you can't put a stop in your logic. So it almost needs to mark it as a problem and then just skip it and move on to the next problem. So so when you code yourself, and it's for you, you can stop logic sometimes, which XLVBA has. So one of the things I've done for now is I've updated my stop routine. So instead of stopping, it will stop and email me first and then stop. So that way I can debug and figure it out. One very nice thing about Excel is since the XLVBA, the code is always running. It's not compiled. And you'll have to look that up. I won't explain that. So whenever there's a bug, you can, in a lot of cases, see exactly what's causing it if the person has left the message box or the code is in a weird state. So almost, if you're giving external software and you're using stops, one thing I do is I use what I call a wrapper. So instead of just using the XLVBA command stop, I use stop it, which then just calls stop. So anytime I wanted to change that logic, it would be very easy. It's a nice technique that I like. So I'm off the High Line, 8:36, running a little late. I know that I'm going to pick up the pace, but I'll get it when I get in. And I'm going to be working till 5:30 at least today, around 5:30, since his juggling starts at that time. So tonight, which is July 15th, Friday, and I'll try to be there for the summer as long as they have it. There's juggling at Bryant Park in New York City, and if you want to say hello, please stop by and look for Al Berg. You can ask people, and most people know me, or I'll come to you. The way you'll know me is I'm the one with I usually have very shiny, shiny balls. I have shiny balls. One is usually a bright red and then green one. So if you see me doing what's called ball spinning, that's me. So that's something on task stopping. Now, ideally, for me to write the book, it's funny. For me to write the book, what I can do is just talk about a subject like I just did, and then transcribe it. Interruption problem. So there's a lot about interruptions and methods of dealing with them. There's one issue is if you check email all the time, you're constantly interrupting yourself. So it seems to be a bad technique. I check my emails around every hour. Try to take a break every hour, which is part of my stand-up alarm. And there was a bug in my code. One of the things I was trying to do is I've created a schedule system. I found that the one in Outlook wasn't fine-tuned enough, like I wanted to do more, and Outlook doesn't seem to have this ability. So I coded my own. So the whole thing about interruptions is if you're having trouble getting things done, you may be not focused because you're getting interrupted a lot. And this can happen at work. One thing I realized from a interrupting point of view, if you interrupt people too much, that's a problem. So a coworker that I've been interrupting, I'm trying to start to send them more emails, and only when it's an emergency. So save the interruptions for emergencies. Okay, here comes a run. 34th Street, 15 seconds, and I got, tell you when I get there. Okay, 5 seconds, so it was a 10-second run. I stepped in the street at 5, and it's at 0 now. And what I'm talking about is the walk signs in Manhattan have countdown on how long you have to get across. Whew. I'm getting sweaty, but there's a very nice breeze. It's got to be 15, 20 miles an hour. And I'm a little dry right now. Yeah, so you may need to come up with strategies to stop from getting interrupted. You may also need strategies. And one actually easy way that I found is if you wear headphones or a headset, it looks like you're on the phone, and people will be much less likely to interrupt you. I know this used to happen where I'd go and some guy would say, well, what happens if you see somebody with headphones and you're not going to just chit-chat. Like I could just chit-chat with somebody, but that interrupts them, and you got to be careful. So ideally, if you want to chit-chat with people, look for a time they've already broken away from their computer, and then hit them. If you want to chit-chat, or I know a coworker, he walks by, he leaves his office. Great time to grab him where he's in between stuff and already interrupted. So you want to get on top of their interruptions. So I'm walking up 10th Avenue. It's by the Lincoln Tunnel. There is a gas station here. There's very few gas stations in New York City, but there is one on 35th, 36th, and 10th Avenue. Okay, so I wanted to, like, I had ways of tracking interruptions. So if you're working on something, it could be a real pain to get interrupted. And then if you're not getting stuff done, it's good to know who's interrupting you, how much time they're interrupting you. I'm not sure what the next one is, but something about SQL and passing a variable to it. So SQL, I know what this is. So when I run SQL, I substitute parameters by putting a $ variable in the SQL. And before the SQL gets called, the system has to substitute the parameters, and sometimes it gets to the SQL. So I actually added some code to do a search on the $, which is how the variable comes in. So if the code that's executing the SQL finds a $, it warns me. So, because otherwise, this is one real problem with running, at least when I run SQL, it's very hard to figure out what causes a problem. The messages are very bad, the positioning of where the error is. And I'm not sure if it's because I use a system called Toad, which is the interface I use at my company to figure out SQL issues. Okay, so while I go through these problems, I'm going to also give solutions. So I had one for the interruption problem. So tracking is not totally a solution, but at least you'll become more aware. How much time do I spend? So tracking your time is actually a good step in the right direction for anything. If you want to know how much a problem's affecting you, you have to be able to get some tracking. So if say a process is taking too long, and you optimize it, how much time do you save now? How much did you get back? So the next one I have is too many things to do. That's a big one. I call it shorthand, too many problem. And I'm probably going to just spend the rest of my time here, which is running out, talking about it. I'm 47 minutes into the podcast. Yeah, so the too many problem, I find it happens in a lot of ways. Too many things to do, too many books to write, too many books to read. Don't have too many friends, too many distractions. So just doing this podcast kind of might be considered a distraction. And now I have too many podcasts because this is, did I even say what number this was? I'm not sure, but I think it's number 50. I'll post it on the podcast. Yeah, so just too many is a real problem. So the obvious solution is, and Tim Ferriss kind of has the best, I think, solution, which he uses the 80-20 rule and Pareto's principle together. So the 80-20 rule says, what 20% of these things is going to give me 80% of the results? And again, this is a habit. I think I created a list, and this would be a good list, or a good thing to have, is a list that tells you that you assign the 20%, and if you have too many things in the 20%, you got to move something out. So every list should probably have an 80-20 breakdown, and I could do that. I have a flag called top. So anything with the word top within brackets shows up yellow, and then in theory I could do it. And then, so how do you do? Say you have a lot of items, how do you get down to 20%? So the first way is to try to break a big list into half. What's the top half of this list and what's on the bottom half of things to do? And then once you do that, you do it again. So you take that top half, break it in half again, and you've got the top 25%, which 20-80, 25-75, close enough. So that would be one way to deal with the too many problem. I feel like I've bought a lot of books recently. I want to read all of them. I guess the solution could be, instead of podcasting, is walk and read a book. Try to read a chapter each day, and I could even read it out loud maybe or talk about it. So there's a lot of flexibility here. And how else can I solve? So problem solving in a lot of cases. Problem solving is in a lot of cases is just trying something. So not just doing. If you have a problem, most likely it's a habit, and you're just doing the same thing over and over again. But if you could find a way to break the habit, you could possibly get out of the, solve your problem. So I've got to, first of all, identify all these different places where I'm doing too many. I mean, even at work, I can't tell you how many tasks to do, and they kind of all fall by the wayside eventually. I don't know if they're prioritized well. Uh, so what I do in a lot of cases, I collect tasks, what I have, what's ever pressing, and then these pressing tasks I add to a column on a spreadsheet. And then after a while, if something else is a higher priority, I start a new column. And all the ones I had that were pressing get pushed off into the back burner. Now, one thing I can do is, at least as a minimum, track how many tasks I add per day and try to remove one more than I add. The other idea I had was, for every one thing I add, I have to remove two. It's not a bad idea. I didn't say it was a great idea. Or so that could be the solution. To add one, remove two. So for every new thing that comes in, I have to get rid of two things. Now that's a habit, and it's tough habit to do. But if I wanted to overcome this problem, that would be one of the solutions. So in terms of too many, I definitely have too many books, too many programs, too many ideas. What do you have that you have too many of? Please leave a response in the comments. Too many pains. Too many. Too much time walking. I changed it to too much time talking about things and not doing them. Yes, I've been talking like this, and even my one idea I have can very quickly with me spark into hundreds and hundreds of things. So what can Excel do? One of the problems I'm having is that I've just overwhelmed myself with the number of things to do with it, too many. So the solution to too many is focus and priorities. So, and kind of like James Altucher says, you have an idea muscle, you have a prioritization and a filtering muscle that I don't use. And so that is going to be a new goal, is to really try to prioritize things better. One thing I've tried is to come up with a monthly goal and make decisions based on it. So now my monthly goal was to clean up, but which would contradict my idea of going to juggle tonight. It was just nice to see a couple of people I liked. There's a guy named Ovi. He's like always very friendly. Just the people, smile, they juggle. I enjoy the company. And we don't talk about much, but it's just juggling. So anyway, so too many things at work that too many things I did at work to even create a resume. So that's key, this 20/80. Now, the other thing that Tim Ferriss talks about is the Pareto principle is the 80/20. Parkinson's law. which work expands to fill the time allotted. So if you want to get more done, set short deadlines. Shorten your deadline on it. One way to get a lot of stuff done, and I'm going to do it today, is, again, this is really hard, is to do 15-minute tasks. So I'm going to go through anything on my list. After I do after I do the main thing I have to do today, which is rewrite a query to use a different table. Now, probably I could say that it was done and I screwed up. I didn't use it. It's I don't know. Maybe better off not lying about it. So the problem I have is I missed something, and the question is why? Why did I miss making this change? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's because of there's a reason for it. Maybe subconsciously I wanted to miss it, or that I was angry we were even doing it in the first place. So there are a few issues. One is the testing was weak. So my testing is weak, I have to say. A lot of my testing is run it, check it, does it work, as opposed to more extensive testing, which would test every possible case. And it was a kind of rare set of circumstances that didn't happen before that brought the problem to light. But yeah, so that's going to be a focus, is this whole too many. So okay, so I was talking about a 15-minute tasks. So I would like to do that, so it's an idea, but I can't really do it until I finish this really high priority thing. So this high priority is fixing the broken query. And then also the other high priority. So I do have two high priority things, is fixing the query, and then also my boss wants me to do something with creating views, which stinks. So now if I want to make the light, now it's a run. Kind of don't want to, but here goes. I'm running now. Fifty steps. And right now the light turned 15 seconds when I stopped. And I'll step in the street at 6 seconds. And 3 seconds, 2 and 1, so I'm across. Okay, that's all I have for today. Once again, this is Al Berg. Again, I'm not sure, this might be my 50th podcast, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, there's plenty of other things you can do with your free time. Anyway, if you liked it, please click, give me a like that you liked it, the thumbs up. If you didn't like it, tell me why, because it helps me improve. And please subscribe also. Thank you so much. Have a really great day. Al Berg, signing off.